Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to Knowledge Talks, a weekly entertainment program at Live specifically to share with you topics that contribute knowledge to the society. News, interviews with guests, tips, question and answer session, and yes, knowledge topics will be shared with you throughout the program, and the objective is to ensure valuable knowledge is shared with you. This program, ladies and gentlemen, is a weekly session that I will have with you every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. I'm your host, Tariq Barwani, along with our studio engineer DJ Safiya, for an hour bringing you free knowledge at your doorsteps on Oman Radio FM 90.4. Okay, stay tuned after the music break for the knowledge topics of today. Welcome back to Knowledge Talks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host Tariq Barwani, along with our studio engineer DJ Safiya, with you here live today on Oman FM 90.4. Pixels, megapixels, or ultra pixels. What does this really mean in the world of digital camera? No, not this camera, but that camera. Or really, when is the best time to buy a digital camera? But more importantly is how to buy a digital camera. Within an hour, it is quite a challenge to talk you through all the different features of a digital camera or tell you which models are the best or brands. Nevertheless, it would be easier to share with you some of the factors that can help you in making the best decision of which camera is best for you when searching for a digital camera. Now, who can best advise these tips for you? Well, surely my special guest today at Knowledge Talks can get you all the tips and tricks of the game. From hobby to profession, Salim Saeed Al-Harthi, the award-winning professional photographer in Oman, is with us here today live to share with you the best on the world of digital photography. Salim is a living example in the digital world for many years now and has received multiple awards for his achievements already. Salim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Knowledge Talks.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Tariq, and thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, Salim, for joining us in our program today to share with us your wealth of knowledge and the kind of information you possess in the digital photography. Salim, you have been living the photography experience for the past years and have been involved in a number of projects, so as received awards for the great work you do. Could you please share with us a glimpse of your journey in digital photography?
All right, Tariq, thank you very much for having me here. And this is always my favorite topic, to tell you how it all started. And my student will know, so I'm going to repeat this again. Basically, it all started 4.5 years ago, okay, when I was in a city called Istanbul.
Okay.
All right. And for those who've been to Istanbul, is hands down one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
In Turkey?
In Turkey.
Okay.
You have all sort of scenery there, from rivers, from mountain, from the architect, from the palace, from people lives. And most of all, which is the most important in photography, is the quality of light over there. Anyway, I was there and I didn't have a camera. I had this point and shoot cheap camera, and I knew then that I had to capture this beauty. Yeah. And only then I decided, in the nearby shop in Istanbul itself, I bought my first camera. It was Nikon D90.
Okay, so that was your first camera, the Nikon D90.
Yes.
Now, when you went to Istanbul and then you saw the beauty that the country has, that is where you thought of, I would like to get into the photography.
Yeah, I thought it was totally unfair to have such a beauty and not to capture it.
Okay,
mashallah. And this way it kicked me. And unfortunately, I went through a very bad experience. And most of the people who are still new in photography will think that the camera is the one that brings the photo, and in natural fact it is the person behind the camera.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
And yes, my first camera was D90, but because I didn't have the knowledge, I went through a series of buying expensive camera one after another. From D90, I went to Nikon D3S. I'm sorry, to Canon 7D, and then after that, I said, okay, let's go to Nikon D300. That was not good enough. Finally I went to the most expensive one, which is Nikon D3S. And only to realize that it had nothing to do with the camera. And the same photo that I can get with Nikon D3S, which is easily can cost around 3,000 Riyal plus, I can get with a Nikon, the entry-level DSLR, which is D3000 or D3100.
And what is the price of that?
And that's around 250 Riyals.
Wow. So you went all the way from buying very, very expensive toys and cameras to now realizing that getting even an entry or a basic type of camera, you could do wonders as well.
Yes, you can do wonders. And it's like a car, okay? You have a Corolla and you have a Porsche, okay? They both can do A to Z, all right? But with Porsche, you have features. All right, you have different engine, different features. So when you go about buying a camera, you have to be careful whether you need those features. All right, and the feature, it doesn't involve the beauty of the photo. That has nothing to do with it. Yeah. For example, I always give this example to my student. If you are tasked to go to cover a war, for example, or some documentary job in a very dangerous area. All right. So with an entry-level camera, you will have difficulties because the features or the ISO, what we call it, won't let you to take those photos. You will need a tripod to get that photo.
Okay.
While an expensive camera, you will not need a tripod because it has the capability of taking photo without a tripod.
Okay.
But if you think about it, both can give the same photo.
Okay.
Yeah, but this one you will need a tripod and the other one you will not. The question is, will you go to cover a war zone?
No,
got my point.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and talk more in depth about the accessories and the features of the phone. But now I really want to know more about you, Sam, because you are a very good example. I look at your photos. Mashallah, you've got your Instagram.
Yeah.
And I love all the photos that you put. And I know one of your the loving photos you have of Sarah. When I look at the photos, mashallah, they're fantastic. You have very good photos, very crisp. They mean a lot and they speak a lot. They say pictures speak a million words. You agree with that?
100%. Yeah, obviously, because the photo tells the story, and this is the key thing of a photo. When you get a wow, okay, what does it mean? You get a wow. When you put a photo on a Facebook or on Instagram, and then you end up getting people saying, "Wow, it's a beautiful photo." So, what is psychology behind you end up getting a wow? It's not the colors, it's not it's the subject matter. Okay, it's the story behind that photo. So, for example, if I show a picture of a piece of glass. And even if that picture glass, it's put in a perfect lighting, and then I show a picture of a blue diamond, but even that blue diamond is in the worst lighting, you'll give me a wow on a blue diamond because it's something unique, something different. So that's what gives the photo love, So the subject matter, the angle, and the light all combine to give you the perfect
photo.
Yes.
Okay, you started photography 4.5 years ago.
Give or take, yes.
The reason is because you went to Istanbul and you saw there's much beauty in there and you wanted to put the beauty into a pictorial form.
Yeah.
Why? Of course, why? That gives the answer. The challenge that you face, could you please share some of the challenges that you face? I know one of them that you shared was going through one camera to another, but what are the challenges that you face in terms of, what I'm trying to get here, Salim, is into photography. Someone wants to get into the photography. What are the challenges that they'll get? And your advice as a professional experience, how they can overcome these challenges.
Again, I'm referring to my student. We talk about this passion, okay? And the first thing I ask my student, what is the definition of passion? Those who say the love of the trade and what have you. No, it's more than that. Passion is to live, eat, dream, and that hobby, all right? So to have that passion, you have to love it very much, and then it doesn't matter what obstacle you face, you will overcome it. All right. And obviously, because I didn't go through school, or and reading through the books and the internet, you just get more confused because the people on the internet, they'll just talk technical language. So I had to go through the actual trial and error type of thing. There's one famous photographer who said your first 10,000 photos are your worst, which basically means practice makes perfect.
That's very true.
And this is what I went through. You know, I took photo and then I realized it's not good. Why this is happening? And then I realized one thing is what you see is what you get.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
People think that camera is a magic tool, and then when you take a picture of a scene, you'll end up having some beautiful photo. No, if the scene is bad, you'll end up getting bad. If the light is bad, you'll end up so that's why taking photo in the middle of afternoon, it doesn't work, because the sun is so bright, so contrasty. It will ruin the photo, you know. So you avoid those type of timing, you know. But this I realized, you know, after so much pain, all right. And now I take my time. I choose the right timing. I choose the right angle and the right composition, and I take my photograph.
Okay, so you say the object matters, which is the place of the scene that you're going to take, and secondly is the timing of the day. These really plays a photograph.
The subject matter, all right. The subject matter, and also the photographer. And the viewer. The subject matter is what you're shooting. All right. Shooting a blue diamond is not like shooting a normal glass, for example. All right. And then you have the viewer. Okay. If you guys end up shooting the same angle, which is the standard human eye angle, then it's boring. All right. And then once you change the angle on a different perspective, then you're showing the viewer again, this is something not unique to his normal day-to-day viewer. So the subject matter, I would say, is around 60% of the overall masterpiece of the photo. And then the angle is 20%. And then I always leave the 20%. Remember, I'm talking about the beauty of the photo. The 20% I'm leaving to the photographer, because at the end of the day, photography is an art. And some people are born with that talent. Okay. When Beethoven decided to play piano, he just took a piano and started playing. Right. When Leonardo da Vinci decided to print the Mona Lisa, he just did it. And Michelangelo, and so forth and so on. So I have to give that 20% credit to the photographer, because it's a genetic type of thing. You know, our brain is divided into two. It's divided the right-hand side, which is the mathematics, the engineering, and the left-hand side, which is the artistic. Okay, so you always have some people who have that in them, that I don't need to teach them the different type of composition rules and the beauty. They just see it and they just go ahead. Some people, they need to learn. So, and so forth and so on.
But mostly, do you also say, or do you agree that photography is an art and is an inborn skill kind of thing?
Yeah, obviously. So photography is an art. Okay, but like any art, you can learn. Okay? Some people can learn to play piano. Okay. Remember during our days when our parents are forcing us to play piano. Okay. So if you don't have the passion, then you won't reach anywhere.
So passion plays a very important role.
So you know, it's like when I tell my staff, two things makes person successful: his IQ level and his motivation. All right. So if you have his IQ level is high, genius, whatever, but he has zero motivation, then he's the most dangerous person to work with. And if you have somebody who's motivated highly, but then you have to have the combination of two. Same with photography. The motivation part is the passion. You really want it. You really want it deeply. And hopefully most of us are in a good IQ level, and then you can make it.
Inshallah. Inshallah. So you discovered that the photography is in you 4 years ago.
Looks like it, yeah, because I love art, you know. I really enjoyed art, and the thing is, the first few months or years you get frustrated. Okay? It only takes one photo to change everything. Just one photo, and that photo was the photo that I took in Jordan. All right, when it won the second best photo in worldwide competition.
Mashallah.
Mashallah. So that one photo really boosts motivation like nobody's business. All right, because it's a human thing. So keep on trying, you'll get there.
And one thing I'll tell you, Salim, is I personally like looking at your photos. You've got these beautiful photos. Whenever I see them, pop them up in the Instagram and all the parts of the social media. I think you really put a lot of good effort in them, and you give beauty, and that's a good thing. You know, there's nothing like looking at beauty things. So thank you very much, Salim, for sharing with us. Salim, can someone make a career out of photography?
Yeah. And this thing I need to talk about, again, my student, when I asked them that question, why photography, they all jump, I want to become a professional photographer. Let's define what is profession. Profession is basically making money out of photography, not necessarily you're a good photographer. We have a lot of journalists, or they're photographer. Okay, but I've seen them using automatic mode and they're just shooting. Those are for professional photographers. They get paid. But are they good photographer? Not necessary. So can you make money out of photography? Yes. I know a lot of Omani friends who are just doing photography, whether it's wedding photography, whether day-to-day different project, they do that. Okay? And whether it put food on the table, yes. In Oman, we are in that level already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it requires somebody to have the risk taker, to believe himself that he can go ahead and do
make
it.
a
Yeah,
business of it.
and again, if you love something, money will follow. Yeah, when I started off, I never thought that I will teach or sell photos or attend different projects and gigs. Yeah, I just did what I loved, and then all of a sudden I got emails, people knocking on my door, offering advertising and jobs and all that. It just came by itself.
And it all started from a passion, mashallah.
Yeah,
How many photos have you taken so far, Salim?
I cannot count.
I knew I'm going to ask you that question,
Yeah.
and it's going to be because I see you I mean every day you almost take photos every day.
Yeah, every day.
Now,
And-
especially with your new phone that you have right now,
Yes,
you
sir.
take photos every day.
And thank you to you, of course, for the suggestion.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the number to call in is 24602058. We have Salim Al-Harthi. Salim Al-Harthi is one of the award-winning photographers in Oman. He knows his subjects very well. He's a genius, I would say. The number to call in is 24602058. If you have any question, he's very happy to be here and to respond to your question with us here live. We'll take a quick break and continue our program today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Knowledge Talks. Today our program is on digital photography, and we have the genius himself, Salim Al-Harthi, on photography in Oman, and we're accepting calls on 24602058. If you have any questions, Salim Al-Harthi is here with us today to respond the questions to you. And we have a caller. Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. My name is Tariq. It's good to know. I was just starting my driving. I thought when I heard about photography, then I thought I should talk.
Excellent, excellent.
Good evening to Mr. Salim Al-Harthi.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Good. I just wanted to know, in fact, I'm not a very professional photographer, but I do take photography, and my son also. But we do. Is there any classes for photography in Oman?
I do classes photography in Oman, yes. And of course there are others, but I'm one of the people who also do photography in classes, yes.
All right, sir. So,
Yeah.
can I have your contact details so that I can talk to you later on this?
Yeah, you can visit my website, www.salimphoto.com. That's SALIMPHOTO.com. Yeah?
Okay, salim.com, right?
Salimphoto.
Salimphoto.com.
Yes, yes.
All right, sir.
All right.
All right, nice talking to you. 24602058. We've got another caller with us. We've missed it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you call in, please ensure that you switch off the radio at your side because communication will not be there. Salim, mashallah, you also have classes. When will I join you in the classes? You never invite me to these classes.
Actually, the next classes is on the 17th of May. I try to do twice a month, Tariq.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know whether the listeners knows that I have other day job as well. So I try to plan twice a month during Saturdays.
Okay.
And it is a one day class which starts at 8 o'clock and
Okay.
ends at 5 o'clock. I'm that type of people who are true believer that when it comes to photography, there's no such thing as level 1, level 2, level 3. I
Okay.
think this is a marketing technique to get people more money out of people. All right.
Yeah.
For me, I tell my student very simple. I'm going to give you the license to drive a car. To become a Formula 1 driver is up to you.
Yeah.
And I believe my class is good enough. The person is equipped what he needs to, to make his career out of photography.
So when I join your class, the next day I can become Salim Al-Harthi.
Yes, you can.
Inshallah. Salim, you mentioned that this is not your day job. Some people do ask the question that does it require time? I do not have a time to do photography. Could you tell us what do you do for a living, Salim?
Thank you very much. You brought that question. Actually, those questions I've been told by so many people that Salim, but I don't have time to take the camera. All my answer to tell them, I don't believe you, because that goes again to the definition of passion. If you love something so much, you can always find time. Actually, believe it or not, I am a CEO of one of the biggest Omani drilling company in Oman.
Mashallah.
Yeah, I'm the CEO of MB Drilling company called Gulf Drilling.
Oh, mashallah,
Okay, so
mashallah.
I'm managing over 500, 600 people with multi-million dollars company, and still I find time to do my passion. Actually, I
Mashallah.
consider photography is like food to my soul. If I don't do photography, probably I will fail in my in my day-to-day job. It's one thing that when I'm done work, I go home with my camera, play around with the camera, and just release that tension. And this is what makes me happy.
Do you have cameras in your office, all around your office?
In my office, I have my new phone with me, and back home I have like 4 or 5 cameras. You know, there's this one thing, Tariq. It's called GAS, which is it stands for Gadget Addiction Syndrome. Okay, it's basically an addiction for mostly photographers. Probably they don't need that camera, but because it's a new model coming in, they go about and just buying it. You know?
You're one of them.
I was one of them, and thanks to my wife, she's always when I see a new lens or a new camera, she say, "Okay, calm down, let's sleep on it, and tomorrow morning we go and buy it." And she's very smart. Next morning, I cancel. I don't buy it anymore.
Mashallah, I'm sure she's listening to our program today, so
I hope so.
She deserves a big thank you from Salim. Salim, talking about the basics of photography, what is it required for one to become a photographer?
A camera.
Okay, that's good. A camera, and then that's a good question. So I know that I need a camera to start taking, getting to the world of digital photography, and I know there's a lot of stores here in Oman that have or sell cameras. I go to a store. What kind of questions should I ask? There's a lot of cameras available, a lot of models, a lot of brands.
Let me take you back to explain to the listeners what makes a photo a good photo. When I say good photo, I mean sharp and clear and nice color. I'm not talking about beautiful. I'm talking a good photo. Basically, there are 2 things, all right? And I always explain it in terms of my head. It's the brain and the eye. When it comes to the camera, it's the lens and the sensor. Okay, those 2 things makes a picture. Nothing else, all right? Not megapixel, not optical zoom or digital zoom or what have you. It's the sensor of the camera.
Sensor?
And the sensor of the camera and the body of the camera, yeah? So, for example, DSLR, it has a CMOS sensor. Okay? And DSLR, even though they're cheap, they are the best camera so far.
But are they cheap? Really? Compared to those point and shoot?
Yes, of course. I mean, when I say cheap, I'm talking about to end up having such a worldwide renowned photos and paying 250, they are cheap. Because with 250 riyal, which is entry level, you can easily do job for weddings, you can print, you can start selling, you can do fashion photography, you can do whatever you want. Right?
That's a very good point that you shared. But is that not considered like those 200 feet? Because I recall last week I went to city center and I looked at the kind of cameras that were available. I know there's from the smallest until the big good cameras, and I found others were like 40-50 riyals. Those are point and shoot. If you could just share what is the disadvantage of these cameras compared to those good cameras.
Let's talk about DSLR. DSLR stands for a single lens reflect, okay? So if you imagine submarine, how do people inside a submarine sees on the surface? It has a telescope, which has a mirror, and then, you know, like they taught us in school, and then there's a reflection on the mirror. One mirror reflects the other mirror, and then you see. Same thing with DSLR. If you open the lens and you see inside the body, you'll see a mirror. Okay, that what does it mean? When it's what you see is what you get.
Okay.
All right. So basically, you cannot blame the camera anymore for mistakes. You can only blame yourself.
As a photographer.
But for the other point to shoot is basically a computerized image.
Digital ones.
The small ones. It's a computerized image. So most of the time you don't get what you see. Sometimes you see different color casts and what have you. You know. So and this is what makes DSLR such a
beautiful device to go through. What can you talk about? You just mentioned about those pixels, megapixels, ultrapixels, whatever. Does this really matter? Because you go to a shop, you got those salesmen come to you and they say, "Hey, Salim, or hey, Tariq, how are you doing today? And I've got these cameras with you, and this is a 10 megapixel, 12 megapixel, whatever it is." Does that really matter, or should I just not even listen to those salesmen?
What does megapixel? Megapixel is 1 million pixel. So if you take a photo, any photo, and then you try to zoom it out using a computer, stretch it really to the end, you will notice some small square
pixels.
So those are pixels, and each pixel has a color gradient we call RGB, red, green, and blue. So you have 255 red, 135 green, and combination of those makes a picture. So if I say this picture is 1 megapixel, is basically 1 million pixels. Okay, so this basically tell us what that the pixel has nothing to do of the beauty of the photo. The pixel only is enough how much you want to enlarge the photo and how big the print you want to do.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And believe it or not, an 8 megapixel is
Camera.
what 90% of population will need, because that's I would say 2 meters by 1 meters. You can print by 8 megapixel. With your iPhone, which is 8 megapixel, you can do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So it's not the pixel that matters. Again, it's the sensor.
In the sense,
Right.
and these, let's say these mobile phones, cameras today, do they have the necessary sensors to make good
No,
photos?
it's very simple. Look at the mobile. Look at that area where the photo is taken. It's very tiny.
Yeah, okay.
So how big of a sensor you can make in such a small area?
So none of the cameras today has that. For instance, you've got this new
Yes.
Nokia. I see it
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the quality of.
The sensor of a Nokia is very small, but what makes it balance is the huge megapixel, which
Okay.
is 41 megapixel. But still, if you look deeply in the photo, you can make the photo as big as possible, but still you can feel the quality is not there. But then that's the sensor. And again, I've discussed earlier is the sensor, and the other thing is the eye, which is the lens.
Okay.
Okay, and this why people, once they buy their DSLR, however cheap they are, then they should not worry about getting a bigger body. Now they should focus investing in their lens, because
Okay.
lens makes a big difference. Okay.
Yeah. What about the digital versus optical zoom? You know, you go in and they're saying this camera has a digital X number of zooming, and the optical one. Is there any difference or? I mean,
Yeah, it's
would
a
you-
different. It's another marketing technique. They want to get money out of you. All right. So digital zoom is basically you take a picture. Okay.
Okay.
Digital zoom, basically you take a picture, okay, and then you use a software, and then you try to enlarge that picture, yeah? So when you enlarge that picture, what happens to that picture? It's becoming bigger and bigger.
Okay.
But what do you do at the same time? You're losing the quality.
Ouch.
So that when they say this camera has 3x or 10x digital zoom, then you have to be careful. Yes, it will do, but it is basically ruining the quality. It will make
Ouch.
near, but actually you're losing the quality. It's the optical zoom that you need to
focus at when you're buying
Yeah,
the
and
camera.
most of DSLR camera with their lens, they are optical zoom. So
Okay.
when you zoom the lens,
Yeah.
actually you optically zoom it, maintaining the quality at the same time.
Thank you very much. We have a caller online, 24602058. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
My name is Akshara from Indian School.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well.
Okay. I study in 10th standard,
Okay.
and I'm very much interested in photography.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know when are the next coaching classes starting?
Definitely. The website to go in, I'll just share. Mr. Salim will be sharing with you the details.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Okay, you need to go to the website, which is www.salimphoto.com. That's SALIMPHOTO.com. And there you see a link, it's called Photo Classes. Just go there, and all the information, the agenda, everything is there.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Number to call in is 24602058. I've got Salim Al-Harthi with us here today. Salim Al-Harthi, as you know, is an award-winner photographer in Oman, has a lot of experience. His photographs speaks volumes. As you can see them, in fact, when you look at the photos, they start talking to you. That's what they are. The number to call in is 24602058. Salim, we spoke about the digital and optical, and you said we should focus on the optical feature of a camera rather than looking at the digital. What about the raw format picture? These days I see new cameras coming up and they say we have a raw format pictures. What does this really
Actually,
mean?
this RAW is not new. It's old. All DSLR you had RAW.
Okay.
Basically, what happened is that inside each camera, it has editing software.
Okay.
All right. It has editing software built in already. So what happened is the camera, when you take picture, normally the image is in RAW format,
Okay.
and it used the inbuilt edit software,
Yeah.
which is the saturation, the color, and what have you, and convert it to a JPEG.
Oh, that's
Okay.
amazing. That's
Now you have the option either to set your in JPEG, which is already edited, or you can just set your camera to RAW,
Okay.
and then later on with your own computer you can edit yourself.
Great.
One thing about the RAW, it has all the information,
Yeah.
and it protects you. If you make a mistake, it can save you from those
Great.
mistakes. Yeah?
We're going to get more in details on that, Salim, especially on the software part of photography. Let's just pick up a quick call before we take up our break today. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, hi, this is Sanjay.
Hi Sanjay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good evening, Mr. Salim Al-Harthi.
Good evening, Sanjay. How are you today?
I'm very good today and I'm better now because I'm talking to you now.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, I have a basic question. I really do not know much about the photography, but I have been very passionate about shooting whatever I see, and I could shoot a couple of good memorable pictures to get appreciation from others. I have a basic question which you can say is a slightly technical question. Whenever I used to do outdoor photography with the low ambient lighting, right?
Yeah.
Because all the times in the natural safari areas, you don't get to have something like 2000 lux plus.
Yeah.
So I opted to buy a camera which is a bigger CMOS sensor and also support with the backlit through LEDs to enhance the quality of the picture.
All right.
And traditionally, I have been using with the film cameras, and I am still a freak of using 35, 70 mm film on the cameras. I love it. But with the new digital cameras, what is, always I have been juggling either adjusting the shutter speed on the tripod for the outdoor lighting in the low ambient versus the aperture. So what is, and I could not get any conclusion on my part when I have to shoot on the low ambience, whether I have to rely on the shutter speed or we have to rely on the aperture area. What is the take on that, sir?
All right. Thank you very much. And do you have any other question?
That's the only question I have.
Great. Mr. Salim Al-Harthi will be responding to your question. We were taking up calls and he's jotted down your question and he will be responding to your question, Mr. Sanjay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. 24602058. Okay, we're going to take a quick break before we resume our program today. Okay, welcome back to Knowledge Talk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Tariq Barwani, along with the studio engineer, DJ Sophia, with you here live today on Oman FM 90.4. And of course, with us is Salim Al-Harthi, the photographic digital genius, with us here in Oman. Salim, the question that was asked before the music break with Sanjay, I'm sure you've jotted it down. If you could share with us,
okay. Sanjay mentioned about low light photography, basically. Yeah, low light when at night, and like anything, the camera, you need to introduce light into the camera, and the light is controlled by three main things, basically. Yeah, which is the aperture, and the shutter, and the ISO. So aperture basically is the opening of the lens. So the more you open the lens, the more light goes in. The shutter is nothing to do with the lens. It has to do with the body of the camera. And it's basically, there are curtains inside the body of the camera that closes and open and depends on the speed. And that's why shutter, we talk in terms of the seconds. So if you say 4,000 shutter speed, that's 1/4,000 of a second. So that's very fast. So the slower the shutter speed, the more time you allow light inside your camera. So during low light photography, you don't have enough light, and this is the reason why you need a tripod, because human being can hold the camera stable at a certain shutter speed, and I consider 1/40 second is good enough. Anything below that, then your hand is not stable enough to control that camera. If you do that, you'll end up getting a shaky image. So what do you do to avoid that? You use the tripod. So for night photography, you set your camera on a tripod and you set your camera on a shutter priority, okay? And then reduce your shutter speed and to the lowest possible value. You'll notice the camera, it will tell you how much value you can go. At night, normally not more than 5-6 seconds and you're set, okay? Another option is that you can reduce your aperture. Now, aperture is a tricky thing. The more lower you go, the bigger the opening. So if I say aperture of 2.8, I mean the opening of the lens is bigger. And if I say the aperture of 16, the opening of the lens actually it is smaller. So this is the trick part. Most of the kit lens that you get while buying your DSLR, you're getting a kit lens, meaning not so good lens, and the aperture is between 3.5 to 5.6. For a nice night photography, you'll need a lens that has a smaller aperture value, i.e. a bigger opening, so that you can overcome the obstacle of low light photography. So if you want to take photo inside a birthday party or inside a wedding or in an area with a candlelight dinner, you need that type of lens, which is aperture of 2.8 and below. And this is what I advise my student immediately once they want to get into photography, is to find a lens of aperture of 2.8 and below. Especially in Oman, you'll notice most of the outing happens at night. So you end up being invited in people's house, indoor, and those kit lens doesn't work for you. You need something with a smaller aperture value.
Thank you very much, Salim. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We got Salim to provide you a free course on air today. What do you want more than that? That's amazing. Thank you very much, Salim. Salim, software. What kind of software do you use with your camera? And do people use any softwares to sort of download, play with the cameras, do any kind of the effects that are out there?
Okay, this is a very taboo question, because for some reason people think editing your photo is a crime. Believe it or not, if you don't edit your photo, you are not a full photographer. Editing your photo is a must. Okay, it's a must. It's something you have to do. Otherwise, you're not a complete photographer. If somebody shows your photo, which is beautiful and nice color, and then he tells you he didn't edit it, then he is lying to you flat. All right, let's go back during the film days. How will people edit? They've been editing. They use the dark room. They'll enter to the dark room with a chemical, with a fume chemical and dark light. That's editing. But in the digital era, editing is using a software. And let's be very clear. There's a definition between editing and touch-up. I'm not talking about the hardcore editing where you introduce a cloud inside a picture or you transform a man into a woman. No, not that type of editing. I'm talking the simple touch-up type of editing. Little bit of saturation, little bit of brightness, little bit of contrast. That is a must, because no camera in the world will produce a beautiful picture straight from the camera. It always comes, the photo always comes flat. It doesn't matter how expensive the camera, the photo will come flat. It's up to you to do a little bit of editing to bring that photo to life. So guys, if you haven't done it yet, then I suggest you to start checking some editing software. And the best one I use is Lightroom, okay? Not Photoshop. Photoshop is a huge photo editing software that the photographer part is only 5%. And it's insanely expensive. There are different type of software. There's Aperture, which is the Apple Macintosh, and there's Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, the one I use the most. Oh, any other with your own camera, the software that comes with your camera, it has an editing software with that. Use that software, practice with it for 1 week, and I promise you, your life will change.
Excellent. So ladies and gentlemen, software goes hand in hand with your photography. That's a very good advice that Salim has shared today. And the software normally comes bundled with the camera that you get. If not, Salim has shared already the Lightroom from Adobe or the Aperture for the Macintosh users. Salim, digital camera versus video cameras. If some people today, they have those video cameras, the digital video cameras, and those digital video cameras come embedded with photo shooting. What can you say about that?
Anyway, I mean, we have gone a long way in using a camera as a video tool. I don't know whether you realize that the famous series House, the whole series was done using a Canon 5D Mark II, okay? Which is a camera, which I'm using, yeah? But the video part of it is very, very good, okay? But to tell you the truth, I myself, I heard that having a video inside a camera, it actually ruins the quality of the camera. Okay. For me, I believe these are two separate things, and it's two separate technology altogether and science altogether. Okay. I mean, I'm a good photographer, but I cannot claim myself to be a good director, because that's a different art, different thing. But the concept of lighting remains the same. Okay. As a photo is one single image. A video is the repetitive of image combining each other, making the motion. So the lighting, the aperture, and what have you is all the same. And if you master the light, then a good photographer can easily switch to a videographer faster, because he got the basic.
Are you planning to become a director?
No.
Okay, Salim. Why I asked you that question? Because I know, Salim, once you jump on it, you're going to do it well. Because one thing I know about you, Salim, is, mashallah, when you work hard on something, you excel it very well. Salim, does brand matter? You know, I've got a lot of brands in camera, Sony, Nikon, Casio, etc. Does it really matter?
The right answer is no, it doesn't. Okay, so whether you have Canon, whether you have Nikon, whether you have Sony, whether you have Panasonic, they're all good cameras, and depends on the taste. Why people go for Nikon and Canon? Simply because the accessories, the different type of lens are easily available. In Oman, you can go to Aremi for Canon, and you can go to Kimji for Nikon. Yeah, that's the only reason. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. And if you tell me, if you show me 2 photos from different camera, I can tell you, I sincerely don't know which camera comes from what
okay.
photo.
Good.
So
brand doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yes.
Auto versus manual mode. These cameras comes with auto mode, and you mentioned it at the beginning of the show today. Some people just use the auto mode and start taking photos, and some use the manual mode. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, it's like computer, Tariq. Rubbish in, rubbish out.
Okay.
All right?
Garbage in, garbage out.
Okay. The camera is the same thing. Of course, having an automatic camera makes life easier, but at the same time, it makes the person lazy. Because photography is not about the technical parts.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I would say 30% is technical
Yeah.
and 70% is the creative part.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this automatic, it makes person not to use his creative part
Yeah.
because everything is there for him. So he just go and shoot. And sometimes you will be faced with certain scenario where you want something to do in this way, and the camera won't allow you. A good example at night, for example, or in a low light photography. If you set your camera in automatic, the camera will always pop off the flash,
Okay.
and then the flash will go. Correct or
Ouch.
wrong?
Yeah, very
And
true.
the flash is ugly. You know that how it looks, the picture with the flash. But if you can control your camera manually, you can set your setting, your shutter and aperture and ISO in such a way to get that nice ambient light without having that ugly flash comes to you. All right. So and this is why I love my camera Leica. Okay. It's not because it's expensive, because we see Leica is complete manual. There's no automatic gadgets, what have you. This forces me to work hard in terms of composition and thinking and do the actual art. Okay. Because a famous photographer said, you don't take a photo, you make a photo. Making a photo is the planning and the art and looking the right angle, the right light. If you have it automatic, then you just go and shoot. Which is very dangerous, basically.
Thank you. What is a budget that should people put for buying a camera? So today people have learned a lot, Salim, from you. You've shared a lot of information, a lot of good advices. You've practically given a training on the session with us today. Now I want to go and buy a camera. What budget? What kind of budget should I keep in mind?
Okay, I'm going to use my painful experience to answer that question.
Okay.
First of all, like I said earlier, it has nothing to do of how expensive the camera. So a minimum DSLR entry camera will do. So I would say around 220 to 250, good enough. That's number one. With that DSLR, it comes with a kit lens. I will advise my listeners is to use that kit lens until you are happy in terms of how to use the camera, and you end up getting a very beautiful photo. Even with a kit lens, believe it or not, you get a beautiful photos. All right? And then after that, you ask your questions. Shall I invest on this expensive lens? All right? And then this depends how deep is your pocket. You can buy as much expensive lens, but for me it's easy decision. I use the job that I'm being given to buy the lens. For example, the last time I was asked to go to cover some event. I went to the place, I checked the lighting scenario, the distance of the subject I need to take a picture, and I realized I needed a 70 to 200 Canon 2.8 lens. All right, that's cost around 1,200. All right, I charge my client 1,700.
Wow.
You see, so this is how it works. And that lens now sitting in my house for the past 3 months doing nothing. Okay? So you have to be very careful. Like I'll talk about the gas syndrome. Be careful on the gas syndrome, which is the gadget addiction syndrome. Make sure your purchase is based, if you ask me, on financial reason. If you're multimillionaire, it's up to you. You can buy the whole Canon company. Nobody will stop you. But for those of us who are money matters, just be careful.
Okay, Salim, what camera do you use?
What cameras do I use?
Okay. So you're one of the example of those multimillionaires. You keep on getting all the devices. I know.
I currently have a Canon 5D Mark II. Okay. And I have a Leica M9, which is my favorite one. I have a Fuji X100. All right, and I have a Leica X2.
And if you combine them all, how much did you spend for all of them?
Oh, the Leica itself is with the lenses are around 5,000 riyal.
But
okay, let me talk about the Leica. Leica is like a Rolex, It's an investment. So it's one of those things. The price stays. If I want to sell it, I can get my money back.
Okay,
hopefully.
mashallah. Salim, you've mashallah, shared a very good deal of information.
So, yeah.
And there is a lot of others that have learned. I've learned as well, Salim. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll invite you again in the future program to even speak more about street photography and a lot of other things, inshallah. Unfortunately, we have only a few minutes remaining for us. Thank you very much for joining us today on Oman FM 90.4 to share with us your valuable wealth of knowledge on digital photography. I would like to take this opportunity to wish you the very best and success in all you do, Salim.
Thank you very much, Tariq. It is a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for this week. I hope you all had an intriguing time with us. If you have an interesting topic, feedback, or comment that you wish to share with me about the program, please write me an email at www.tariq.net, thetariq.net. I'll be pleased to hear from you. Let us catch up again next week on Tuesday, same time, from 5:30 p.m. for a knowledge session. I'm Tariq al-Barwani, along with the studio engineer, DJ Sophia, wishing you all a happy and a pleasant weekend. Ma'as salama.